to you and letting go of the negative little sayings, records that play in your life, in your space. My name is Jackie G, and welcome to my channel. So let's get into it. One of the biggest things that I would love to encourage you to do is to be true to you in every aspect of your life. And to be true to you, you've got to know exactly who you are and what you stand for. So, what does that mean and what does that look like? Well, one of the biggest things that happens in our life is that we are told over and over again, it could be amazing. You're amazing. I think that you can do whatever you want to do. Just believe in yourself. Take this positive action. And people that hear that kind of thing often feel that they have this self-confidence. They will be willing to give things a go. But occasionally, and it actually happens a lot more than we think, is that there will be somebody that we may meet, and I really hope that you don't go through this experience, but you may meet someone that tells you you're not enough. No matter what you do, you're not enough. Now, one of the biggest things is, and if you've ever met a narcissistic person, one of the biggest things that they do is they gain as much information about you as possible. And then what they do is they actually use that information to eventually play against you. So they tell you that you're amazing, you're incredible, and you start to open up, and maybe you share that you lack confidence in something. Maybe you share that you are struggling with something. But maybe also you find that you struggle at times with the way they speak. So it'll be like, hey, you're being an idiot. You're ruining this. You've ruined this situation. Why won't you give me what I want? Why won't you do what I want? And then the love bombing comes again. So it's this cycle of being attacked. But then the next thing is that they're loving you. They're building you up again. And my disclaimer is I'm not a psychologist, but I have been through a relationship with a person that's very narcissistic. So when I left that relationship, I was lost as to who I was or who I am, because there wasn't the love bombing and building up, and there wasn't then the tearing down. So I was like, who am I as a person? And what does this look like? And what is important to me? Because it even got to the point where when we used to go out for dinner, and if you've watched, I've shared this example a few times. When we used to go out for dinner, what used to happen is he would say, where do you want to go? And I would say, I'd like to have Mexican, or I'd like to have Chinese, or whatever food I was looking interested in having. And the feedback was, that's not what I want. And I said, well, where would you like to go? Oh, well, you choose. Okay, but where would you like to go? What is it that you would like to do? And this is where the challenges come in, because there's this bit of a game that's going on. You're in control, you have the choice, but no, you don't really, because we're still going to do things my way. I'm just going to let you think you have control, is often their behavior. So how is it that when you leave that relationship, how do you find who you are? How do you find your identity? Like, what is it that you do that helps you to be you and know you? Well, you've got to take the time to heal. Taking the time to heal and surround yourself by people who believe in you. You don't need building up by other people. It's got to start coming from within. So it could be that you want to see a counselor. It could be that you want to hibernate for a little bit. So take that time out from everybody's thoughts and everybody's opinions, because everybody's got them. And some people are really keen to share them, even when you don't ask. But the biggest thing is stopping and starting to ask yourself questions such as, what is my favorite food? Okay, I'm going to have that. And staying true to you and taking it one step at a time, remembering to come back and be kind to you, because you, if you've been through domestic violence, if you've been through a relationship with a narcissistic person, they think of only themselves, but somehow it's been your fault. So it's going to take you some time to say, actually, no, I'm not a bad person. Actually, I'm okay. It's okay for me to change my mind on things. It's okay for me to speak up and say, actually, I do not like Brussels sprouts and I'm never going to eat them. It's okay for you to say this. And I know that might sound like a really simple thing to do, of just simply choosing what you want to eat and how you choose your foods and things like that. But, and here's the point, when your decisions have always been treated like you're crazy for having these decisions or you're crazy for standing up for yourself, when somebody is basically telling you that, even though you're not. I remember being told off because I refused to pay for dinner one night. I said, well, sure, we can go out for dinner, but I'm not paying. I was like, well, you're selfish and you're nasty. Why aren't you paying? Because I don't want to pay. Yeah, well, you're this and you're that, and I'm not going to repeat the names that I was called. So I simply got in my car and left. But then I started to question, have I done the right thing? And the barrage of text messages and phone calls that came my way. Why aren't you picking up? Why did you leave me here? Don't you care about me? I now have to walk home. You've just ruined my night. Is any of this sounding familiar to anyone? Because you walk away, and the logic says, walk away and don't go back. But when the love bombing hits, oh my gosh, it's huge. And those little red flags that you noticed suddenly disappear, or maybe they turn a little bit pink. They're not as neon flashing in your face. So when you leave that relationship, when you leave that person behind, it takes time because you're so used to the toing and froing. You're basically conditioned. This is why having that psychologist support you, or that counselor to support you, or those people that are not judging you, giving you the space and time to take back your identity, to stand in your power and say, okay, so I love to sit by the beach. And other people go, well, I'm more of a city person, or I'm more of a bush person, or whatever. Okay, cool. We can all be those things, and we can all still get along really well. Not one person or not one place is better than another. And it takes time to trust yourself, and it takes time to trust the other people in your life. So when you take back your identity, when you take back who you are as a person and take that time to know yourself at a core level and build yourself back up to be able to say no comfortably and okay, to know what's important for you, and be able to stand by it. To feel comfortable enough to trust someone else to let them in. These are all key things to your recovery and your healing after being in a toxic relationship, after people have told you how to be. Now, I'm sure that someone's going to watch this video and they're going to say, why would you even let yourself be in a toxic relationship in the first place? Well, some of the most charismatic people have narcissistic traits or like to be in control. And often if you watch any TV programs that show that personality profile, they come across as the most amazing person to the world, but behind closed doors, they're completely different. And one of the biggest things that happens for people who are in those types of controlling relationships is that they're slowly cut off from family and friends. That's how they get worn down as well, because there's no one saying to them, hey, what's going on? Why are you listening to this person? That voice of reason starts to go out the window. So it's really easy looking from the outside in to say, get out, move on. That is really easy to say. But when you're in it, it's not that easy. And then there becomes the fear because of the manipulation. So getting out of a toxic relationship, an abusive relationship, doesn't matter whether it's a spouse or even a friendship can be this way. Getting out of that and moving away from that person, because the person that's trying to control, because the person with the narcissistic traits, they want control over whatever. And often they feel out of control in all aspects of their life, even though on the outside they look like they're completely in control and life is really good. So what happens is when you threaten that control, when you start to say, I'm taking this away from you, they get angry. They get mad. They threaten. They may cause harm mentally, emotionally, physically. They can cause harm. So how do you handle it? What do? You take the time to plan leaving. And when you do leave, as I said, you take the time for you. You take the time to get to know you and build up that resilience, because you are strong. You can choose a different life for yourself, and then you can go ahead and make that happen. You can do that. But it's going to take time, it's going to take patience, and it's going to take being kind to yourself. Leaving is the first and the hardest step, and then the rest takes time. It takes time to trust yourself and others. It takes time to let go of the blame and the self-criticism and the self-judgments. But you can do it. You can do it. And when you're ready, you will do it. So remember to take care of you. Now I'm going to leave this live here. I just wanted to bring in this topic. And I'm going to do a longer video on this topic at some point. But the key thing that I would love for you to remember is you deserve the best life possible. And that starts with knowing you. It starts with being the best version of you. And if you're not sure where to start, then sure, You could do the I Saw individual personality profile quiz. It's a great place to start to build yourself back up again. Or maybe you already know who you are. Maybe you haven't had a toxic relationship and you're watching this video. But the quiz is always fun anyway. But at the end of the day, this is about you living life that brings you joy and brings you happiness and brings you success. I am going to do a longer video on this at some point, but right now, this is all about bringing in this topic, drip feeding it in, because it's a really heavy topic, but it's a really important one. So thank you for watching. I appreciate your support. If you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, I'd appreciate it. If this resonates with you, please feel free to share it. All right, have an amazing day.